very wonderful to have you here, sir.
Great to be here.
We thank you to come here to us and travel very far. I have some questions to ask you if you want to.
Sure, love to.
So, how can artificial intelligence enhance personalized learning experiences in educational settings?
Right. Well, the best way I think, look, the world's more and more coming together. It has a lot to do with globalization. To give you a quick lesson in globalization, 1989, the Berlin Wall comes down. The old super story of our time, the East versus the West, communism versus capitalism, that all went away. And what replaced it with globalization and opened up the world to people as never before. But with that, you layer that with artificial intelligence, suddenly you have the ability to have young students such as these not only understand what we traditionally would teach in universities, I love these slides, but also to teach them about that world out there. That world of different cultures and languages and the way people express themselves. In fact, artificial intelligence actually create a series of scenarios where students will interact with people from Morocco, or people from China, or people from sub-Saharan Africa, or people from my country, but that are artificial. And they can do that without having to travel abroad and have the experience that a lot of people, including that. And what I mean by that is the idea of how do people use, let me put it this way, in our world today, 60% of the world's cultures are what we call high context. High context, you have to build a relationship first before you can do business. Okay? Other 40% is what we call low context. That's my country. Or transaction. Let's do a deal. I don't have to like you when I'm doing it. This will make some money. But I'm a real believer that if you're one of the vast majority of the world is high context training. You need to build a relationship. It's absolutely critical that you understand what drives cultures, how people assimilate their culture into their daily lives, how important it is to them, and then you can build a relationship. And then you can do business, and then you can change the world. That's what we can do with enhancing the personal experience, whether you sit in a smart city or anywhere in the world, with artificial intelligence for our students.
So, one follow-up question. So, we're talking about cultures. Do you think that all the cultures are ready to integrate AI into education and all of the general purpose of life?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, that's one of those ones that you could write a book on. So we have about 30 seconds here. The reality is that the answer is yes. I think, humans, when people say to me, oh, I don't want to learn that, that's too hard. You had to learn to walk. That's what we do as humans. We learn, we educate ourselves. In fact, there's an old saying that says, education is like breathing. You don't want to stop, okay? Keep it up. And so I think that, humans naturally would embrace what AI is going to give us. It's going to be that next big bump in terms of what we are and what we can do and what the potential is. I think the future that my children, my grandchildren have is going to be so fabulous that, and it's going to be a lot of, because of AI, that it's going to swamp anything we've seen in the past. So yes, the cultures in the world are going to embrace AI.
Okay, thank you. So for the second question, how can we ensure an equitable access to AI in education in all the settings, all the cultures and the countries?
In my country, we say that's a $64,000 question. That's the one that everybody wants to know. And in reality, the standard answer is, well, you must make investments. We get policymakers to make investment in obviously the hardware, computers and Zoom technologies and whatnot. And you must get the rich people in the world, we call them in American English, these sugar daddies and sugar mamas, to say, I want to leave a legacy. This is important. You leave something that actually you will be remembered by. What does that mean? Invest in AI. And then what you do is if you have access to AI, even if you're not a rich person or a rich policymaker, invite a young person in and say, hey, let me show you what I'm doing here on this computer with ChatGPT or Gemini. Get them involved. Just say, hey, do this. And the reason you do this is because imagine at the end of your life, you're laying on your deathbed, and you ask yourself, did it really matter that I passed this way? Did I change anybody's life? Did I make a contribution? Or was it just about the parties and toys that I had? And if the answer is no, it didn't matter, pretty sad day. But if this, I did make a difference, I made the world a better place. Maybe just a little bit, but I did. Then you're ready. Next chapter, bring it on. I'm fine. I think that's the message that resonates with all of us.
Thank you. For the last question, and I'm sorry to hold you,
No.
hold you here. So, what would you suggest to better use AI in education?
To better use it? I would say to better use AI in education is to say to the people that aren't using it, start. Download ChatGPT. Ask it a question. Read this book on prompting. That's the real key to using right now. What we've got is prompting. How to ask a question, how to follow up, how to make use of this technology such that you're really getting the most benefit out of it. Because it's going to change dramatically. I mean, we are in the early stages. What you see now is going to be, they're going to think of that as we used to think about the old computers. We had toggles and you probably don't even remember that, but nowadays you speak to your computer. Okay? In the future, you will have artificial beings that will be your servant or your companion, and they will make life richer.
Okay, those Apple Bible visions.
But imagine it being an actual being. And I'm not talking about doomsday here. Although, if you ever get a chance, read one of the great authors of all time was an individual by the name of Isaac Asimov. And what he wrote was a science fiction. Fabulous writer. He now passed away, but he wrote books for 5 years, for 5 decades. He wrote 500 books. I asked my students, you don't have to tell me this, but have you read 500 books? He wrote 500. Okay? And one of his books was a premise that the reason humans evolved with the big frontal lobes here that give us cognition, and the larynx that gives us speech, the ability to communicate and strategize, was because it allowed us to bring about artificial life forms, artificial intelligence, silicon-based life forms, he called them, that are simply better than us. They never die, they never grow old, they never get sick. There is no morality because there is no right and wrong. That's all moral. And they will populate the universe and make things better. That's our purpose for coming along. Now that's a lot better scenario than saying, oh, they're going to come and take over. No, maybe our purpose was to bring back something simply better. That's what we're doing.
Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, good luck in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
تابعونا على فيسبوك، يوتيوب، انستغرام وتيك توك.